So hi everyone, and welcome back to another interview with one of the speakers of Financial Freedom Summit. And today I'm especially blessed to be with a good friend of mine, Mr. Daniel Wood. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks a lot. See if I can
Excellent.
live up to that introduction.
Of course, of course. So Daniel is going to be talking on a really interesting topic, and the topic of his talk is international property investing in 3 simple steps. So perhaps you tell us a little bit about that, because it's a different topic to normal, but obviously it's really important because we have a lot of international investors also interested in real estate.
Absolutely. And I mean, the talk will, in many ways, it'll work even for domestic Brits. What it's about is really about investing in a place where you don't live. So you could be living in London and investing in Manchester, or in Leeds, or you could be like I am in Sweden, investing in the UK and Spain, or anywhere else.
Yeah.
There's certain differences to investing, in your backyard and investing from a distance. And I learned that the hard way, because my mentor, he was British. He was a fantastic investor. But when it came to things like project management, I mean, for him, he didn't really have to think too much about it. He would take a walk in the morning and he would see, hey, the builders are there or the builders are not. And if they weren't, he sent a text and, he'd get a reply. Oh, no, we're just on the way. We're a little late. And so for me, when he coached me, that wasn't a big part of the mentorship. But what I realized being at a distance, I mean, I obviously couldn't take a walk down by my property.
Yeah.
And, if you don't send that text, hey, are you on the way? It turns out they weren't late. They just don't show up that day. And so that kind of the way you have to build your team, the way you have to, it's a lot more about recruiting the team than choosing your area. It's more about finding the right people than finding the right property. Obviously, the area and property are important as well, but when you're over here, when you're at a distance, the most important thing is who you're working with. I always say a good sourcing agent can make great deals in a bad area, while a bad sourcing agent can make horrible deals in the best area in the world.
Absolutely, and I think I love that, and I also like this kind of perspective that you're coming from, because obviously Momentum Property Education, the company you founded with your wife, has been going for some time now, really focusing on those kind of intricate little details that people don't really think about. So hence why I'm really excited for your talk, because it isn't just a case of investing, as you say. It's a case of all those other little pieces in terms of the team and how you manage the project and all of those things that sometimes people just see a deal and they kind of think, oh, wow, that looks amazing. But it's getting the deal across the line, and then it's actually seeing that deal become what was promised, let's say, in the original sourcing or whatever, literature you saw, where it said, it's going to be a 8-bed HMO. It's like, okay, and what is it now?
Yeah.
So,
Well, the big difference we have is, in the UK, say, you're seeing, oh crap, my build quote is going up. You can always put in some sweat equity of your own. You can always get in there and get dirty. We can't. I mean, my sweat equity would cost a hotel room and a flight. So, and I'm not that good a builder, so it's worth more paying someone else. And so, there's a lot of things we can't do. The blessing, though, that we have as international investors is the fact that we're forced to systematize the business. As a local investor, it is easy to like, all right, let's roll up our arms, sweat equity, let's do this. I can manage it myself because that way I can save on the letting fees. And, these things that people do, which when you're trying to build a big portfolio are crazy. It's worth so much more to pay a good letting agent than doing the work yourself. We were talking about that on our podcast. And that we don't have that choice. We don't have that luxury, which means we have to build a real business, and that allows us to scale. So I've seen a lot of British investors get stuck at 1 to 4 properties. Very few internationals get stuck for that reason. They can either they never get started at all, and that's what we try to teach them to do. But once they get started, nothing really stops them from growing because they systematize their business from the outset. So I think you'll see over the next 10, 20 years that small investors will actually have a larger success when they're investing in an area that's not their home than their equivalent who's investing in their backyard over a far longer period of time.
yeah. And I think that's a really good point you actually bring up, Daniel, because your talk actually, although it's titled International Property Investing, is actually more about, well, if you're investing in a place that's say more than 100, 150 miles away, which let's face it, for a Brit is still quite a way to go,
Yeah.
it's actually entirely applicable, and the things you're going to be talking about are things that they should take on board. So I think that's fantastic and I love it. So I know we don't want to kind of, tell everyone what's going to be on the talk right now, but you've talked about 3 simple steps that you're going to talk about. Could you perhaps just give me a little flavor, a little tease of maybe just one of them?
Well, I can tell you the steps. The devil is in the details.
Of course.
So that's what comes in the talk. But no, we see it as very, very simple, really. Step 1 is find, analyze, and calculate your deals. If you can't, if you don't get access to the deals, nothing else matters. But as you talk a lot about, Matthew, if you don't analyze the deal, if you don't understand the deal, and you don't know what is it now, what it's going to be, how am I going to get there, what is the demand, will my strategy work, all these details, it doesn't matter. And then once you have that, if you don't know how to do the math, and it's not difficult math, you just need to know how to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
So that those parts are key. That's step 1. Step 2 is the project management, which, as we've already talked about, I care about passionately, because I have literally lost hundreds of thousands of pounds to poor project management. So I care about that passionately. Step 3 is about the money. And that's something that's applicable wherever you are. There's always more property deals than we have money. And that's where it comes to the point where a lot of people will start sourcing. While I want to teach, there's actually 25 different sources of finance. I won't have time to go through all 25 in the talk. That's a 2-hour segment in itself. You've only given me an hour. I know everyone who's coming through would love to just hear me talk for the next,
of course,
for the whole time.
Absolutely.
Especially now when I've told them I could share 25 sources of finance. But that's what's so exciting, and that is in addition to the banks, the bridging. That's in addition to primary finance. For your deposit finance, we've identified 25 sources of money that you can use to finance it. And if you put those together, you get the deals, the due diligence, the calculation, quality project management, and the money to fund your deals. There is no limit. That's why internationals, we see, once they get started, they do deal number 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, rather than getting stuck, because they leverage money, they leverage time, and they leverage systems.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. And if people want to find out more about you, obviously go into your speaker profile, have a check that out, go and check out the website as well. So a couple of things just to kind of wrap up then. So obviously right now we're in the middle of a kind of crazy situation, right, worldwide. So as an international investor, what are maybe a couple of things that you guys are doing just to kind of like, I guess, weather the storm, so to speak, to make sure that when you come out the back end and all of this kind of craziness has dissipated, you're going to be in a stronger position than you are right now?
Yeah, so I completely agree. And let me preface what I'm going to say now by just saying, what's going on is horrible. I've had good friends who've become really sick. One of my mentors actually passed away in the coronavirus.
Wow.
So this is serious. It is horrible, and we're broken up about it. But as investors, this is the best opportunity of our lives. So kind of what I'm doing to, so to speak, weather the storm is really not weathering the storm. I'm doing everything I can to raise finance to go out and buy as much as I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
So as an investor, again, humanitarian, it's horrible. I've been hit hard by it, my family. But as an investor, as Warren Buffett said, when other people are afraid, get greedy. When other people are greedy, be afraid. Right now, other people are afraid, so get greedy. So I'm working hard on all of these 25 sources of finance myself. We're looking at starting a property fund. We're looking at raising finance I'm working with multiple banks, funds, financial advisors, and we're raising a lot of money to do deals. So that I would basically say, as a property investor, yes, your cash flow might take a hit if tenants decide not to pay their rent. Make sure you build up a buffer that you can survive at least for a few months without rents, so that you have some cash on hand. But if you have extra cash on hand, if there was ever a time in your life to buy, it is now. If you can get people to invest with you, the time is now. So I would say it's not really about weathering, it's about growing at this point.
I love it, and I agree completely. These are precarious times, but in precarious times comes the greatest opportunities of most people's lives. So absolutely love it. Really, really great advice. So we're going to finish with a little segment I call 18 in 12. Now, what is this? Basically, I'm going to ask you 12 questions in 108 seconds. It's fast and furious, and really, it's just designed to get our audience, our people that are attending the summit, just to know you a little bit better on a personal level, right? Because, you know, we kind of talk about all these things that are amazing, but it's the connections that people want, right? So hope you're not too scared. But
I'm freaked out now.
I
So
didn't give you any preparation whatsoever. So
all right, so here we go. 12
are we ready?
brilliant answers in 3 minutes. Let's see what
We're ready. Okay, so what is your favorite treasured item?
Oh crap. Uh, my well, item, so not family, my iPhone.
Love it. If you had a favorite book you'd recommend people read, what would it be?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Of course.
Yeah.
A favorite film or TV series?
Oh wow, there's so many. We're watching Vikings right now. Let's just say that.
Cool. I love that. If you think back to your childhood, what would be your favorite memory?
When I hit a home run playing in the junior national baseball team and got my dad to cry for the first time.
Sweet. That's awesome. Favorite music or artist?
Michael Jackson. You should see
awesome.
my moves.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite website that you like going to because it's, you know, it's either fun or it's got information, or you just use it for work?
No.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Favorite app? You must have one of these.
Well, yeah. Well, I kind of live on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube Studio. So the social media apps. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Now, if you were marooned on a desert island, and it kind of feels a little bit like that right now, but if you were marooned on a desert island, what's the one person, the one luxury and one necessity that you take? And I know that's a tough question. So.
Oh, that's horrible too, because I'd like to say I'd take my wife, but that means I'm leaving my kids alone without either parent. So I would say I'll take my youngest son, Arthur. Makes things a little easier for my wife, and I'll hang out with Arthur. A luxury then we would definitely need a computer with internet connection so I can turn on Blippy for him. Otherwise I won't survive.
Awesome.
And what was the third thing I could bring?
Necessity.
Oh, a necessity. Well, can I like have one of those like Star Trek like automatic food providers?
If that's a necessity and it exists.
Oh yeah, I need my good food. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of a way. How do I get hot food from one item? And Star Trek automatic giver.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Favorite tipple or drink if you don't drink, say alcohol?
Well, I'll drink like red wine with some cheese and charcuterie. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Any favorite hobby that you like to do outside of property investment?
Well, I love baseball. I used to be a pretty good baseball player. We'll see if I can be again.
Beautiful. And who currently is your biggest inspiration?
Oh, wow, that is one of the hardest questions.
I asked this in terms of like, who is it currently? Because often it does change, you know, who you might be inspired to like a decade ago, it could be different now. So
yeah, no, there's so many, and I kind of choose them out of their area, like what of them is good. But if I have to pick someone, like overall, it's kind of a two-way tie between Warren Buffett and Richard Branson, I think.
Great. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment to date?
Outside of my family and my kids, I think it's the community we've created here in Scandinavia. How many people are now investing successfully in the UK? That is really, really exciting.
That's fantastic accomplishment. And final question is, at some point we all have to depart these pastures for other places. What would you like your epitaph to be in terms of people to say about you?
Well, I mean, if you can dream, the procession that Gandhi had after he passed away, and the comment by Einstein where they said that a person like this will probably never walk among us again. I'm paraphrasing. Will never walk among us again. Future generations will have a hard time believing that one such as this has ever walked among us. Poor paraphrase.
I love it.
You
Yeah.
know, if someone would say something about me, that would be the biggest. I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
A long way to go before I deserve anything close to that, but that would be a dream.
Fantastic. And this is just a question that I don't really ask anybody else, but
Uh-oh.
do your kids still have the Bush baby?
They do.
Wow.
They do. They have the Bush baby somewhere in William's room. It is there.
Awesome. I love that. Well, great. It's been awesome spending a bit of time with you. This is Daniel Wood from Momentum Property Education. He's going to be doing an awesome talk on international property investing and the 3 steps that you need to follow, I guess, in order to make that happen. So make sure you tune into his talk. And if you haven't registered yet, get registering. What are you waiting for? So yeah, thanks a lot, Daniel.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.